Welcome to the Hot Rod Hangout Podcast.
Whoop, whoop.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Ashley.
And tonight we got a special guest, Syko Simmons. What's going on, man?
How's it going, Matt? Nice to be here.
Hey, just living the dream down here in sunny Florida.
You ain't too far away. I'm in South Georgia.
Yeah. We were when we sold our house, we were back in 22, we were looking up in Georgia way because y'all's land is way cheaper than our stuff down here.
I hear that. But it ain't staying too cheap around here. I'm getting encroached in pretty quickly.
Yeah, we live right next to, or not right next to, but it's coming our way, the Villages, so we know about that whole encroaching thing.
Oh, man. Pretty soon you just stay there and you'll just be part of the Villages and be partying out with them.
Not me, man. We sold our house to try to get more land and get rid of a mortgage payment and did the opposite. Got less land, less house, and more mortgage payment. So, but sometimes plans don't always work out the way they're supposed to.
I have a plan B.
So, what originally got you into the crazy car obsession?
Man, I don't know. I've always been growing up. I guess I was a technical kid, man. I was always into dirt bikes, BMX, all that stuff. I grew up in the south side of Chicago, so we had train tracks. So we'd be on the train tracks. We'd ride our bikes everywhere, motorcycles, just whatever. And really got into it big once we moved to Georgia, South Georgia at that, because we're in the middle of nowhere. So more four-wheelers, three-wheelers, more motorcycles. And I don't know. I just started going to seeing the newsstands at the grocery store, seeing like Hot Rod magazine and lowrider and stuff. And I was kind of an artist, so the bright color cars on the cover would catch my eye, and I'd be looking at it, 13, 14, 15. I really started looking more. But 15 was a real game changer. I was like, man, I could see style in cars, and I could see one car and be like, man, that looks really good. And I could see another car and I don't like how that looks. And before I knew it, I remember one day on the school bus, I saw a 71 Dodge D100 step side. I was like, man, that's a cool looking truck. When I got home, I told my dad, I said, Dad, there's this cool truck uptown for sale at a car lot. And he's like, let's go uptown and look at it. So we looked at it, and Dad's like, you want it? It's like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, man, that sounds awesome. So, yeah, we bought it. It was super cheap. It was like $600. I learned how to drive 3 on the tree, had a slant 6 in it, and I was 15 years old, and I started, wetting my teeth on it. Like, I made a side exit exhaust on it. J.C. Whitley was still a thing then. So yeah. I'm tearing through J.C. Whitley's, and I'm like, this is like kid in a candy store. I'm like, man, I ordered a seat cover for it. I mean, it was like $5 for a seat cover. Seat covers for it. I didn't airbrush the tailgate, but I used spray cans and stencils, and the truck was red. So I did the tailgate, and it said cherry bomb on it. It had a big cherry that was a bomb.
Awesome.
And just did stuff. I learned how to do a lot of stuff in that truck. And I always liked, even though I liked the truck, something just didn't ring well with it. Like, it wasn't me. Like, I wasn't, maybe I wasn't a truck guy. And I was like, I think I want to get something else. And I'm 16 now, and I have a motorcycle, and I'm driving my motorcycle mostly to school and stuff. But I was like, man, I really want something else. So I put the truck up for sale. It didn't take long to sell. I mean, it was a sharp truck. So it sold. I had some money in my pocket, and we started looking around. We looked at a 65 Impala SS. My dad was like, that's a little bit too much car for you. And then we saw a 62 Galaxy red with big white walls on it, red interior. And I was like, man, it was nice, but we could never catch the owner. But it was high. I think it was like $6,000 in the early 90s. That's a lot of money, yeah, especially for something used.
And now we wish we could find that.
Yeah, for real. And then I was looking into classifieds in the newspaper, and I see a 1968 Chrysler Newport for $800. And I'm like, oh man. I asked my dad, so what's that like? He said, I don't know. Our neighbors down the road have one. Why don't you go down there and check it out? And went down the road, and it was the car that was in the classifieds, and only had like 68,000 original miles on it. It drove, it had AC, and it was. Hey, I had money in my pocket, and I was like, this is awesome. I said, I bought it. So that car really set it off, because now I'm looking at lowrider, I'm looking in broad and custom and all this stuff, and I like it all. Like, I'm taking it all in. And I wasn't like silver spoon child or anything. So I've had to, I wanted stuff. Well, how do you do stuff? My dad told me, he said, man, nobody's born with the ability to do anything. You learn how to do something. So that means if you want something bad enough, you learn how to do it to get it. And I was like, I was like, it was game on then. By the time I was 17, I had put hydraulics on it. I had custom painted it old school style with Watson style scallops. Kind of did my own interior, thanks to, once again, JC Whitley. It was a little bit different. I liked it. I didn't put no special wheels on it. I modified the hubcap, so it was like a cross between a custom and a lowrider. So, and that's what I liked. I learned how to do maintenance work, mechanical work, stereo, wiring, paint, body work, you name it. That single car put it all in motion. And then what any car guy does, I got a car that I'm fixing up. What do I got to do?
You got to get another one.
I got to buy another car so I can work on this car and I can drive that. So I bought a mini truck, and people are like, "Oh, you got a mini truck?" Well, it was already done. It was lowered. It was a Dodge D50 lowered with some wheels on it. And I was like, oh, now I don't have to do nothing. Well, the day after I bought the truck, I hit a deer. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. So I hit a deer, wipe it out the front end. So now I have to learn how to do collision repair. So I fixed that truck. That truck carried me for quite a while. Ended up being in a short feature way back in, I think, 1998 in Lowrider magazine. It was called Dragon Low because I had airbrushed dragons on it. I did glass etching. It was lowered, so it was Dragon Low.
Nice.
And I had parts of the engine airbrushed, and it just kept on. And I don't know. It's been a passion. I love it. Every time I see cars, I'm like, this is cool. Or I take this idea and I'm like, I got to try this out. And it was all just learning it. Like, I didn't even know how to do any of this stuff, and it's, trial and error. But I want to try it. I'm going to do it. And what really sent me down my current path is that I picked up a Lincoln Mark V, 1979. And I remember I was like, oh, yeah, this car's awesome. It's nice. I don't have to do nothing to it. And I really didn't do anything to it. I drove that car, but that car made me fall in love with Lincolns. And so I immediately started kind of like looking into them. And this is before the big craze of like the 60s Continentals with the suicide doors really hit, before Matrix and all that. And I was like, that car, I saw one. I was like, man, it was so understated, but so overstated at the same time. I was like, it became my dream car to have.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I don't know, I've had 40 Lincolns before I ever got my dream car. But every time I do something, I still learning, Mm-hmm. I don't have no special custom builders out here, no custom painters, nobody to teach me anything. So it's all trial and error. And I learned, and every time I do something, I'm like, I'm going to try this. And now in my 40s, I'm like, I'm still trying stuff and still learning stuff. There's nothing that I can't do. I'm going to try it. I may not be the best at it, but I'm going to try it.
Well, and the more you do, the better you get at it. And then you learn, I'm building the Model A right now, and as we're going along, it's like, okay, well, if I was going to redo it or I was going to do it again, I would do it this way because it would make it easier on this. And you kind of learn as you go, the more cars and the more projects, and you can learn from mistakes as well as victories.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I've learned that over the years. I built a Lincoln Town Car in the early 2000s, and I went crazy with the hydraulics. And there's hydraulics in my area, but nothing. I ended up having like 16 batteries in it.
Oh man! So it was a hop setup.
Yeah, I plumbed 5 pumps in it, 3 pumps plumbed together to the nose. I mean, this thing was just straight bonkers. And airbrushed stuff on it, custom fiberglass speakers and custom paint. And I was one of the first to run around with custom anodized wire wheels. And I showed up at places and they're like, oh, look at your wheels. And I'm like, it was still a learning process because I was, nobody doing hydraulics except me around here. And I was doing some crazy stuff with it. I mean, I understood the fundamentals, so it's just, let's just run with it, see what we can do. And that car was just straight bonkers. And I learned a lot about even more about hydraulics and voltage and batteries and all that stuff then, and what you can kind of do to a car, and to the point where I always like going to car shows. Mm-hmm. So I tried to keep my cars nice. Instead of like the guys you see like on old videos, or even now, they're hopping and hitting each other, wrecking their cars, doing that. That wasn't me. So I was doing whatever I could do to make my car continue to be a show car, but be also pretty serious.
Well, and that's the Model A was going to be, one of my buddies is still trying to convince me to put it on juice. And because when we were in high school, we were all on air. Like everybody here was on air. No one would even wouldn't even think about, hydraulic setup. Well, he went out to Arizona and got with the guys out there, and it's the opposite. Everyone is on hydraulic setup. And when I was talking about this car with him, he was like, man, just put it on juice. He's like, you don't have to worry about water. You don't have to worry. He's like, chasing down a leak, just look for a puddle. It'll make a puddle wherever it's leaking. And I was like, well, that's true.
I'm going to give you my advice on it. So my current 62 that goes to a lot of shows has a very different hydraulic system on it. In fact, it's one that caused great controversy years ago on Lay It Low. And it still does to this day when there's some newbies out and they find out about my system and they're like, that can't work. And I'm like, man, I got 12 years and over 160,000 road miles on my car that says otherwise.
Yeah.
And I've only had to do one repair, and that was a seal replacement. When I went to Battle, Alabama 2 years ago, the rough roads in Alabama beat my front end apart, and I had to put a seal replacement in. It's the only thing I've ever had to do to my system. But my system is a 12-volt system.
Okay.
And it does everything I needed to do. Originally, I had a single pump with a 5-dump manifold, hydroholics manifold on it. So I had one pump running the whole car, and I drove my car as a daily driver for years. So I made it ride good, and I made it handle good, and I could still hit switches if the car's running up until I run out of battery power, I can hit switches. And it just blew people's mind. They're like, what? They'd open up the trunk, and when I was single pump, I had my pump hidden in the fender. So there's a trunk open, there's no pumps in it, there's no batteries.
Yeah.
But it's got hydraulics.
Well, that was the Model A, that was kind of the goal of that car. Was I wanted to make it lay on the ground, but I didn't want to put it out there that it was on air or hydraulics or anything like that. So he was talking, and he's like, dude, they sell eyelet tops for the hydraulic rams. He's like, so you could just mount it like a shock, and then that would get your front end done. He's like, and then in the back, and I'm like, well, but I'm not trying to hop this car. And he's like, dude, less voltage, less pumps, just like a park and chill. I didn't even, again, everything I've ever been around was air. So I'm like, I don't even understand what you're saying. So he was explaining it to me. And then I was like, well, what about the rough ride? And he was telling me about accumulators. And he's like, you know, you adjust the air pressure in the ball to make it whatever ride you want it to be. And I was like, man, it's still got to be rough. Like, it's hydraulic fluid. It doesn't compress. And he sent me a video. I think it was, I can't remember the guy's name, but he's real big and he's got a full-size Chevrolet on like 26-inch rims, and it lays body, and it's on full hydraulic system. And he hit a speed bump at like 30, and the truck didn't move. It just soaked it up in the tires, or the hydraulic system in the tires. And I was like, that's absolutely nuts. And he's like, yeah, it's just you run more volume in your lines, run an accumulator. And he's like, and then you can just dial in the ride to, oh, it's riding rough, take a little air out. Oh, it's riding too soft, put a little air in. And he's like, you know, that way, he's like, you're not trying to hide, because I'm putting bags in a cross member, which they're going to be hidden in the cross member. He's like, but you're still going to have lines. You're still going to have all this. It's like, it's the same stuff. Plus you still got to try to figure out how to mount a shock on it. And I was like, well, yeah, but he was busy, and I'm like, I don't want to try to tackle this all by myself. So, but a 12-volt system, that's crazy, because he still was talking about, oh, you need 2 batteries plus the 12-volt to run your car. So 12 volt's crazy. That would be an interesting setup.
When the original setup only actually had the car battery itself running it.
Oh, wow.
And later on, I added another battery, basically for amperage. So, because I would dim my lights like hitting switches.
Oh, okay.
But it would still hit switches. I'd still have stereo going and bass booming and all that, and it'd still do it. But with the extra amperage of the added battery, I didn't have no problems. But yeah, 12 volt does it just fine. It does require you using a smaller gear. So the smaller gears torque better on 12 volts. Taller gears like 11s and 13s barely move on 12 volts. So you won't have any lift. You just think of this. Think of a wrecker or anything else, lift gate, truck, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Them operate on 12 volts. They operate whole beds and whole things that lift up thousands and thousands of pounds, no problem. It's the same concept. So you don't. This is, you know, I don't want to hop my car.
Right.
I don't want to come around the corner on 3-wheel.
Right.
But I can sit there and literally hit switches all day long. Funny thing, a couple of years ago at Slamfest, driving around Slamfest in Tampa, inside the show, I'm just going around hitting switches. Well, there's a Cadillac behind me. He's hitting switches too. I turn around and he's just dead in the middle of the way. And I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, man, I got to wait till my air builds up. I'm like, jude. Kept on cruising. So don't have it with this problem.
Yeah. Well,
hydraulics.
That was what he was kind of giving me the pros and the cons. And I was like, the more I talked to him, the more I was like, oh, that wouldn't be that bad. But then, like I said, just the unknown. And it was like, I kind of got a basic idea of the air ride. But now that the idea that I had for the air ride in the beginning is out the window and we're going somewhere different. But
if you ever get back into hydraulics, you can go crazy with hydraulics, because hydraulics are fluid. And there's, like you said, there's no compression in it. So say you have a ram up front that lifts. Well, you can run a line from that to another ram. That ram can actually be hooked up to a set of coilovers, like hidden under your vehicle, like under the body on the frame. So you adjust you have the other ram adjusts the coilovers, and then the pressure from it riding up front makes the coilovers underneath your car spring and compress. So it just transfers the movement from the front to underneath your car. Still rides good, still fully adjustable. And now you have, not only do you have fully adjustable coilovers, but now you can also raise and lower your car, and it rides the same, whether it's an inch off the ground or 10 inches off the ground.
That's kind of how Carl Fisher with Make It Custom, the guy from Canada with the Dodge truck, that's what he did. He put 2 rams. Instead of the rams out by the wheels, he put the rams on top of the leaf spring pack. So as the rams go
And
up, it
adjusted
just
the leaf spring.
it just pushes the leaf spring down, obviously pushing the front end down, and then in the back he has a cantilever to coilovers. So when it's sitting on the ground, it's just sitting there. When it lifts up, it's still riding on a stock coil pack or a spring pack in the front and adjustable coilovers in the rear. And that's what he was saying is, I can run it an inch off the ground, or I can run it 5, 10, whatever, however far up it'll push, and it'll still ride exactly the same.
No, my Lincoln's, I don't have nothing crazy. I'm set up like a normal, what you would have any almost normal hydraulic car. The front, I have actually I got 3-ton coils up front, but they are heavily worn in from years and years of abuse, and they ride really good up front. So it's a stationary hydraulic cylinder, pushes down on the coil just like a normal setup in any car like that, but it rides good. Out back, I have a coil over setup, and I have old springs from the front of my car in the back. And made special cups for them. And I still have shocks. I have brand new Monroe sensor tracks in the back, and I can literally cruise an inch off the ground or lift it up. And I've driven it nonstop from here to Houston, from here to Dallas, Chicago, Miami, all the roughest roads. And I just keep cruising. And sometimes it can get kind of bouncy and all that stuff, but it ain't like no rough ride. I'm comfortable in the car. Yeah. So, it's however, and a lot of people are like, oh, doesn't it ride rough? And I'm like, no, it rides great. And you can see their mind is buffering because they don't understand that I just told them my hydraulics ride good.
Well, and that was what I was going off of was, I don't know the secrets, and then you get in a wormhole and not knowing, like, I've never been around it. So now that I've seen his setup, I can kind of understand. And then also, you got YouTube and social media that you can kind of see setups. But my thing, there's no coils in the front of my car anymore. There's no spring in the front of my car anymore. So that's kind of one of the hurdles I was trying to get over, and he had a solution. And it seemed like every concern I had, he was like, oh, just do this. Oh, just do this. And I was like, well, I really wish you had time to help me do this, because it would be cool.
Years of trial and error tend to do that. Like, if you have a problem, you can do this. And you're like, huh? Yeah. And
he has a Volkswagen Passat with 22 inches of lift. And it's cool. Oh, yeah.
So a lot of import cars can get some nuts. Yeah. It's just crazy what they can do. So this is funny, like everybody like the lift and tuck a wheel back in the 90s. Yeah. We'd put hydraulics on something. I want to tuck the wheel. Well, hydraulics only work in one direction. They also work off of weight on that. We're not using like a double cylinder like you would use in like heavy equipment. And like, how can we get that up? And my idea was like, I know what I'm going to do. I went to my buddy's house, stole a rubber band from his Solo Flex weight machine, ran back to my other buddy's house. And I was like, if we're going to just tuck this one driver's wheel up in the back. I welded 2 posts on his control arm to his body and stuck that Solo Flex rubber band on it. Well, the hydraulics are strong enough to override the rubber band. But then when you hit the dump in that corner, it would immediately just suck the wheel up. So he'd just he'd be riding through town, and one wheel just be all the way up inside of his car. And then he'd take a turn, and I always see a Civic doing 3-wheel. It was a riot. Yeah. Anything that we would try, we just, let's try this. Let's do this. I put air shocks on the torsion bars on a guy's Mazda. So he had full ride on the front of his Mazda, and nobody knew how he was doing it. And I'm like, I put air shocks on his torsion bars, and they're like, what? How did you do that? And I'm like, I just made mounts and put some air shocks on it. No big deal.
That sounds like the kit I made for my Harley Bagger. Before now they make a redneck kit for it, but I just took 64 Corvette Monroe air shocks that they were the length I needed when they were extended, and they were still enough room that if I lost air, I could still ride the bike home without tearing up any wiring under the fender, and wired in a compressor, no tank or nothing. Just, when you flip the switch on, the compressor would kick on, air the shocks up. When you pushed it down, it would just dump all the air out of it.
Yep. Hydraulics. I love hydraulics. I'd rather put hydraulics on than any air ride. And sometimes air ride's the best idea. I got a crew cab long bed S10 in my shop that we're actually doing some crazy metal work to. And it already came to us with air ride. And I'm like, man, it'd be so sick if we put some hydraulics on it. But my customer's like, no, I really don't want to just keep that. We're doing all this. I don't want to screw that up. It already works. I'm like, it'll still work. It'd just be cooler if we had hydraulics on it.
Well, that was one of the points he brought up was he's like, air ride, because again, trying to hide how it goes up and down. He goes, you could literally pull in with hydraulics and set it on the ground and no one would hear you lay it down. And then when you left, he goes, then you just get to sound like a transformer as you're picking the car up. And I'm like,
I never heard it called being like a transformer, but yeah, I get that. That's pretty cool.
I mean, it kind of listening to his, we went to a local show and he was playing with his, and I was like, that kind of does sound like, just machinery. And I was like, okay, that kind of does fit. But
I think hydraulics carry some weight now when you show up. Like in the Lincoln community, I say the Lincoln community, in the Continental 60s community, I'm probably one of I know of 4 other Continentals with hydraulics. And that's it. Everybody else is, air ride this, air ride that. And every time I see a video of them posted, I'm like, you guys are riding with air ride, but you're driving it higher than it was when it was stock. I mean, what's the
point?
Here?
Yeah. And
and I'm like,
I think a lot of times, it's just the unknown. It kind of takes a couple people, or, you look at, if you know air ride, I mean, it happened to me, you know a little bit about air ride, and then you're going to switch something up, and it's like, well, it's easier just to fall back on what other people, there's more room. Like if you have problems with an air ride, you could get on Facebook or any forum that's still around and be like, hey, I have this problem, and you're going to have 80 answers probably 5 seconds after you hit send, and whereas hydraulics, it's not like, there's a lot of people that are very knowledgeable about it, but then you're also trusting you're going to get 1 or 2 replies, and you have to kind of trust that they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because every system's different. Like you said, your 12-volt system makes people scratch their head. So if someone was to do a 12-volt system, they got to hope that you're willing to share that information.
Yeah, well, I did a couple big write-up spec and lay it low, and I've done it on like the Lowrider Tech Help, that explaining how 12-volt systems work and all that stuff, and they're just like, I mean, I'd still get people in there, that can't work, that's not true, that's a lie, and all that, and I was like, I'd literally have to go out there and show a video of my 12-volt system working on my car. And they're still like, no, there's no way. And I'm like, literally, here's my address. Come to my house and I'll take you for a drive in my car. Yeah. And I mean, it's crazy that people I don't understand why they don't want to believe something like that could work.
Oh, it's just weird. Like, it's different.
It's just hydraulics. And hydraulics it's all the same thing. It's a pump that pushes fluid. That's all it does. And then you use the weight of the car to lower the car. And so there's a dump that opens up and allows the fluid to return back to the tank when it goes down. And I'm like, hydraulics are so simple. It's just like, I don't understand why people have so many problems with it. And there's just, I'd rather have hydraulics. I have a 59 Edsel I drive around as my daily, and really like you were talking about how they had to lift the mounts on the leaf springs on the truck. So back in the early 90s, Reds actually made a article about that. And I actually did that in the early 2000s on a friend of mine's truck. I put 4-inch cylinders in the frame for his back leaf spring hanger. So, but 4 inches in the back of the leaf spring hanger equated to like 8 inches of lift at the wheel.
Yeah.
And it was all under the bed, all of it. There was nothing cut inside the bed. Everybody's just like, how does he have hydraulics on this truck? How is this possible? And they're like, that can't work like that. And I'm like, well, you see it, it's working. It works perfectly fine. And he drove that truck for probably almost 20 years. I think it's actually in a junkyard now because it just, the rest of the truck fell apart. But I mean, hydraulics are just simple. People just give it a chance. And the way air ride has progressed over the years, when it first showed up in the mid 90s, it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And Firestone was your leader in bags then. And you just got whatever you could get that worked with airing up the stuff. And then tanks came along, and then pressure valves, and then old SMC valves. That's what you wanted to use.
Yep.
So I remember wiring up like, golly, you'd have I want to do front, back, side to side. You know how many valves I got to hook up? That's 8 valves. Man, what a freaking, you go to Home Depot and spend $50 even in the 90s for fittings to make all these valves work and all that, wiring them all up. People are like, man, wiring's nuts.
And now you can just buy a manifold and plug 8 lines in and call it a day.
Well, that's the thing. These manifolds, man, I got a stack of manifolds out in my shop that are just junk. The boards go out with them, or there's an internal crack in it, and then the whole thing is just no good after that.
Yep.
And I'm like, how much is another manifold? And they're like, oh, this manifold cost me like $2,000. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
There ain't no way. $2,000. I could put some like little Larry's on this thing, or some old school SMCs, and you can be already cruising down the road. They all want to be able to control their vehicle from their phone and all. I was going to
say they want to control it from their phone, or they want to be able to hit a button and it go to a certain ride height.
Yeah,
it's like,
you know what? I'm old school. I don't even really want to do them setups. I'll send some. If somebody came to me and I'm like, no, I'll put some air ride in it, but I'm going to either put manual valves in it or some SMCs. I'm not going to mess with all that stuff because, man, you ain't impressing nobody if all you do is drive in one setting and then you park it and you lower it down. That's not fun. You got to have some switches on the dash. Go, get up to the red light, start, bouncing the fronts for some kids or something. Or, whole thing with the phone and these.
That's kind of the hot rod in you. That's kind of the hot rod side of, adjustable suspension is, it used to be you had a blower or, loud pipes, and you pull up next to a car full of kids and they're giving you thumbs ups, and you give them the little whop whop, and light turns green and you take off. And it's a while back we had a guest on, and he said he was just trying to appease the 11-year-old kid inside of him. He's just trying to make him happy. And I'm like, that pretty much is it. I mean, we were all that kid that wanted to see, that's what we were looking for. We were hoping, one of the old school car guys would give us a thumbs up, or whop on the throttle a little bit or something. And now, we have my wife's 54, which is the car that currently runs, and then we're building the Model A for me. But if a kid walks up, I'll throw him in the seat. In that car, it's lowered, but it's not on air or anything. If it hangs around after my Model A gets done, we'll do a build on it. I accidentally bought a C10 for a motor and trans, so I have a motor and trans for it whenever it needs it. But it was an accident. I really wasn't trying to buy it.
It came home with me. It just followed me down the road.
Well, actually, it was delivered. I didn't even have to go get it. I had a buddy that was taking it to a swap meet, and he told me what he was going to try to get out of it. And I was like, oh, it'll definitely sell for that. But if it doesn't, and I offered him less. I'm like, if it doesn't, I'll buy it for this, because I'll just yank the motor and trans out of it and I'll sell the truck. And he was like, okay. And he called me the next morning. He's like, hey, I guess you bought a truck. And I'm like, what? He's like, it's on my trailer. I'll deliver it to you. You still interested? And I'm like, yeah. I told you I'd buy it, so bring it here. Currently, what's the favorite car you own?
It's definitely my 62. That was, like I said, that became my dream car in the late 90s. And I got it in January 2008. And it took me 4 years since I got it to put 1 mile. I finally put the first mile on it in January 2012. And then after that, it was on. I literally drove that car every day till 2020, early 2024 is when I kind of stopped driving it as every day, because I've put so much into it. I've been hitting that car, and it cost State Farm $15,000 for me to fix the quarter panel on my car. So, it was like I said, that's my favorite car. I love it. Sometimes I love driving my Edsel. It's a fun car to drive. But then I remind myself when I get in my 62 how much I love driving that car.
Yeah.
That is my dream car. I get in it, the shape of my steering wheel, the shape of the dash, everything I've done to the car. I get excited every time I get in it. It's not just not like some chore to get in that car and drive it anywhere. I get in that car and I'm like, yeah, I like this. No. I like cruising in this. I like going down the interstate in it, going to Dollar General in it and stuff. And I mean, that was I was still the quintessential teenager that had a Cindy Crawford poster in his wall with a Lamborghini Countach under it and stuff like that.
Yep.
Still have a soft spot for Lamborghinis, but man, I'll walk right past the Lamborghini. I'm going to look at this Slam 55 DeSoto that's got some patina on it. Yeah, let's look at this. Yeah. Or, I see the Edsel or something. I'm like, oh, Edsel. Everybody else says, oh, it's ugly. And I'm like, that car's awesome looking. What are you talking about?
Well, and that's, you're kind of Edsels, those type cars, you're going to be the only one there. Especially if it's got especially if you got a little something done to it to set it apart, not just a color or wheels or something. It's going to it sets itself apart. It's not I hate to say it, but it's not the 68 Camaro that there's 14 of them there, and it's not the 55 or Tri-5 Chevys, all of them. I mean, they're all getting where you go somewhere, especially a bigger show, and there's 4 or 5 of them there. And they're still cool. I'll go look at them. I'll go look at every single one of them. But the off the wall, weird, or not necessarily weird, but just weird to see it. What is that? Like, let's go find out about that. Studebakers, Edsels, a lot of those cars, one, they weren't manufactured like a Chevrolet or a Ford or Mopars of the day. So there's not that many of them around. So to run into one of those that you may have only seen in a magazine, that's cool.
Yeah, that's even my Lincoln. So South Georgia didn't have any Lincoln dealerships back then, so it's even rare to see that.
Right.
And me building it, people are just like, "Man, that car is just, what is that?" And then they see it. Oh, it's got suicide doors, and they know it's a Lincoln. Then they know what it is. It's been in enough shows and movies, people know what it is, and they're just like, man, that's crazy that one of these cars is around here. And really, I hate to say it, most of them, the Lincoln people, are pretty monotone when it comes to how they build their cars.
Yeah.
Smoothies or custom Colorado Customs or Isotope wheels, Diamondback white walls, solid paint jobs, solid interiors, nice stereos, LS swap, Coyote swap, air ride, but then you never see them drive it.
Yeah,
never see them drive
and that's the sad. Like, living near where we live, a bunch of these cars are still tucked away in those garages, and I drive through there on a daily basis, and I see the cars. Right. Every once in a while, the garage door will be open, and I'm like, that's a cool hot rod. And I'm in the car scene around here, so it's like I've never seen that car out.
Right.
Or, you know, and
never see it out.
And then every once in a while, I'll run into guys that are like gangster with cars, and it's like I have Ashley's 54 tattooed on my arm, and my sleeve doesn't really cover it all the way. So I had a guy like he's seen the front end sticking out, and he was like, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh, it's my wife's 54." And he's like, "Oh, you're into cars?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, come here and look at this one." And it was I think it was a 63 or 64 Lincoln. And he had traded, you know, he had this truck that he had up north and, you know, cruised it everywhere and was their little ice cream cruiser. And he come down here and some guy just had to have the truck. And he was like, okay. And they made a deal. He had to put up some money with it, obviously. And he come up with this Lincoln, and it was, like you said, though, it was not a cookie cutter build. I don't want to call it that because it's a beautiful car. But, you know, it had the smoothie 20 or 22 inch mob steel wheels, you know, the white walls, the this, the that, and it had a twin turbo LS in it. And I was like, man, that's cool. And he's like, yeah. He goes, I don't get to drive it as much as I want to. He goes, but it gets out 2 or 3 times a week. And, you know, most of the time, like, I'll take it. And, you know, if the wife just needs me to run up to the store to get a bottle of wine or whatever, she's like, I drive it up there. And it's been, he did it's not the hot rod tour, the power tour with it. And he did the one in Texas. God damn it, what is that?
Texas 2K?
No, it was it's a cruise. It's just a bunch of guys, and it's like, the Hot Rod Tour of Texas.
Oh, Hot Rod Tour of Texas.
And, you know, he's
cruising the coast of Mississippi.
Yeah, cruising the coast is on the but, you know, and he was telling me stories, and he's like, you know, I see all these cars, and it makes me sad. And I'm like, it makes me sad too, because, you know, Ashley's car, I mean, I don't live that far from work, but her car gets driven 2 or 3 times a week. Or, you know, if we're going somewhere and it doesn't have AC, so Florida kind of doesn't cater to no AC in the summertime. But if we're just running to go to dinner and I don't have to look like real presentable and unsweaty when I get there, that's the car we take. Because at the end of the day, in 54, that was the daily.
Yeah, for real. It's like my Edsel, I have an Excursion. That's my hauler. And I've got the Edsel simply because I'm like, I'm going to use this as a daily. And people are like, oh, you're crazy. Why are you going to drive that old car as a daily? And I'm like, why not? I said, it's got a 292 Y block in it, 2-speed, Cruise-O-Matic. But the thing gets crazy great gas mileage.
Yeah.
I only drive at top speed, 60 miles an hour. Don't get on the interstate with it. And, you know, my shop is on my property with my house. So I get stuff delivered here, you know, from auto parts store to paint store, online. Sometimes I can go days not even going to town. But I do go to town. I just jump in the Edsel and take off. And it reminds me every time how much money I save with that thing. Insurance is cheap. And I named it Rustalina. It's got bad body rot on it. But the thing is solid, like frame and floor wise.
Solid where it needs to be and crusty where it can be.
And then, you know, I'm like, and everybody's like, oh man, you're going to make it look like your Lincoln? I'm like, I ain't painting nothing on this car. I'm not doing nothing. And they're like, and their mind is blown because they know who I am. And they're like, what I do to cars. And they're like, you're not going to. I'm like, no, this car is good to go right now.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, first time I ever washed it was just the other day. I mean, it was dingy. Because it's like a pale yellow, and it was nasty. I was like, holy cow, it looks like a different car now.
Well, we always joke Ashley's car's been washed like 4 times because we found a product because she wanted to shine it up a little bit, but she doesn't know if she wants to paint it. So I was like, well, let's not do like linseed oil or a patina or patina sauce or something like that on it. Well, we found a product called Flood Pentrol. It's a paint hardener additive, and you can just sponge it on, and it self-levels, and it brings the gloss out, or what gloss is left in a 70-year-old paint job. And people were like, oh.
You'll have to send me that, because I picked up 2 more Edsels, and one of them, they're both 59s, but one's a 2-door. And it's like robin egg blue with tons of patina on it. And I'm like, I want to save that patina.
After the podcast, I'll show you a picture of it.
Yeah. I'm a custom painter, and I don't want to mess. Now, the roof, I want a metal flake, because the color code is robin egg blue with a gold roof and gold insert. And I'm like,
oh, you got to flake it.
I am going to bass boat flake the roof and insert. The smoothest, glossiest you could ever have it, but the rest of the car, I want patinaed.
Well, I'm not
stay that way. And
I'm not the shiny paint guy, so like her car, the orange, it was orange from factory. The orange is still patinaed, but somebody repainted the white roof, so it's got like a little bit of shiny, and then kind of the grunge. My Model A, I don't know if I'm going to paint it. I don't know if it's going to be bare metal. We seen a guy at Turkey Rod Run last year that had used low texture, like bedliner material, and then he put flake in clear and clear coated over top of it, so it had a little bit of sparkle to it.
Is it like a grayish color?
Yes, and it has the Constitution on the firewall.
I think it was out there at the cruise nights in front of the Speedway.
Yes, and it was at the Bad Apple show too.
Yeah, they pulled me when I pulled in there. They pulled me in like right up front and had me park right up front.
We did Turkey different this year. The past 2 years before last year, we try to do everything, and this year, with us promoting our show, we went to an abundance of car shows, and it just got burnt out. It wasn't fun. Car shows weren't fun for us there for a little while, so we had to figure out how to still promote, but also get back to why we do this, and that's enjoying hanging out and talking cars. So we didn't make it to Turkey Nights at all, but we went to the Bad Apple show. Ashley won a Bad Apple. Which was funny because it's the only trophy that I ever set on the podcast.
Bad Apple?
It's at Iron Horse.
I was there. Lincoln was there.
Was it?
Yeah.
You were parked out front.
I was there the whole time. I pulled all the way through, drove through, and then they parked me. Actually, I was up front, right next to the big.
Dude, you were behind us. You were behind us.
I was in the right next to the 4-wheel drive Dodge.
The orange 54 that had to move out of your way so you could leave at the end of the night. That was us.
Okay.
When you said that, I'm like, there was no. I couldn't remember, and now, yes, you were right behind us. So, you were parked by the picnic table. We were parked in front of you, and Corey and Hannah Wheat was parked next to us.
Yeah, man, I was that day. People are like, dude, your car has been everywhere. We have seen it in every location. How are you getting around so fast?
Well, and we had planned, like I said, we had planned to go back to Turkey Nights at one night, but we went to Turkey. I had the GoPro, but I filmed a little bit on my phone. Ashley loves taking pictures, so she took some pictures. And then it was like, hey, I'm done. Let's go grab lunch, go grab dinner, whatever. And got to get to enjoy the car show again, because it turns into a job, and that's not what we're trying to do. Like, the whole reason for doing this is to meet cool people, and it's crazy that you were right behind us. And
well, I was there the whole time, and we had a blast there.
Yeah, oh yeah. And that show. So the year before last, the trophies were American flags. It was a Bad Apple, CNC cut Bad Apple, but it was painted American flag. And I had said on the podcast that was the only trophy I ever wanted to win, because I love America. And then this year we went, and I had walked my legs and back to death walking the swap meet trying to find a tunnel ram, and I was like, we're going to enter your car. You're not going to win nothing, but I'm not walking across A1A, so we're just going to park in here, and you're not going to win nothing, but whatever. And she actually won something, and I was like, you jerk. I was proud of her, but that car, that's like the, I don't want to say the redheaded stepchild, but like it gets no attention. It's super reliable. I can go out there right now and hit the key. It'll start. You know, it's not going to win any beauty contest. It's not going to win a drag race. You know, but
no,
we get looks.
It doesn't mean you
no one
have
sees
all
it.
that stuff.
Oh yeah, and that's
sometimes it's cool just to cruise.
And that's the thing is that car, you know, it's been from here to Jacksonville. It's been to the drag strip riot. I think it was, we figured it out for the taxes, and we put like 22,000 miles on it. I was like, that's badass. Because literally, like, that's like, if I'm going to go somewhere and I'm not in a rush, that's the car we take, because you can't be in a rush. Because one, the car is not going to speed up or slow down any faster. It's just going to drive. You pull up at a gas station, you're pretty much guaranteed to talk to somebody for 15, 20, 30 minutes. You know, you see people, they ask questions, and I love little kids asking because they've never seen one. They weren't born, so they don't understand it. I mean, I wasn't born when it was there, when it was new either, so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're talking about you throw kids in the car and, like, take pictures or driving around.
Yeah.
I've done that numerous times at like Slam Fest.
Oh yeah.
I had like 4 or 5 kids in the back seat riding around Slam Fest. I didn't know them, and the parents were like, "You're going to let them get in that car?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's okay." Even with the custom interior, and I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm going around hitting switches, and to me, them kids remember that it wasn't just a boring show. They were walking around. Now they were part of it.
Well, and you may not remember those kids' faces next year, but they remember you.
Yeah, and then maybe when they're old enough to drive, they're like, "Man, I remember riding around in this car and it was doing this and all that. I want to have a car like that."
Yep. Well, and even older, we've figured out, you pull in somewhere with the 54, and you get a little old couple come out, and maybe their parents bought a 54 Chevy brand new, and they got to take it, to prom, or, my dad had an old 54 tucked in the back of the yard, and we used to drive it around the farm. That's what I learned how to drive 3 on a tree on, and stuff like that. And hearing people's stories, that evokes emotion that a new car just doesn't do.
Yeah, new cars don't have souls. Old stuff has souls because they have stories to go along with their metal and their trim, and that piece of trim falling off, and that dent right there, and that tear in that seat. They all mean something. They came from somewhere over the course of many decades.
Oh, it's the 54's missing a piece of trim over the back window, and Ashley took it off on the way. We were cruising one day, and I looked back in the mirror, and I seen it sticking out, and I was like, "Hey, grab that before it flies off." And people would be like, "Hey, I have this trim piece." I'm like, "Yeah, it's right there in the back. I just haven't put it back on yet."
Right?
Yeah,
there's 2 pieces off the Edsel that all I have to do is stick on with 2 screws, and same thing. Somebody pointed out in the Edsel group, "Hey man, you need that trim that's right there? I got some of that." I'm like, "Oh, I got the trim." Just they put it on.
Yeah. So speaking of shows, what show or event do you try to make every year?
So Slam Fest has been a thing for me. I have made it at least as a spectator since like 1996. Okay. And, I just love the show. I love Florida for one thing. It's just a hotbed of all kinds of car culture and all that. And up until last year, I could not make last year. We were going. We had Airbnb'd a whole house, and then Hurricane Milton came through and screwed it all up. And then it was just, my funds weren't there being that close to Christmas, and my daughter was coming up, and I was like, I had to make decisions. It's not that I didn't want to go. Trust me, I wanted to be there, but it just wasn't in the cards. So, but Slam Fest has always been my show. And that, lowrider shows, and if you haven't never been to, and I tell this to a lot of people, if you've never been to a lowrider show is like stepping foot in another country.
Yes.
The culture around it, the atmosphere, everything about a lowrider show is completely different than any other car show anywhere. And if you haven't experienced it, you need to experience it for yourself, and it will just blow your mind. And first time I took Jenny to it, I said, "This ain't like any other show you ever been to." And her mind was blown. She's just had the greatest time. She said that's absolutely one of the best shows that she'd ever gone to, is a lowrider show.
Yeah.
So I try to make lowrider shows. We have a local show that we've been going on now for 12 years, close to us. It's in Jennings, Florida, and it's called Play Loud. And what am I trying to say? I'm all tongue-tied all of a sudden. The entry fee is just bringing school supplies for the kids.
Oh, very cool.
And we've been doing, and I've pretty much took over like doing all the awards, and we help promote it through our local group and all that stuff. And this show what really, it bothers me is that this show has never gotten no more than like 75 vehicles at. And I'm like, it is in August, which is blazing hot in South Georgia, North Florida.
Yes.
And I understand that. But it is a charity show, and it's been going on for years. And I'm like, there is no reason why this show isn't overflowing with people, especially in our area. But remember how you said how you have all these cars tucked away in these garages and all that stuff? Man, there's so much of that up here, and people don't never come out and do nothing. And I'm like, I don't even understand it. I'm like, not even to help out with something like this. That was the
biggest thing that we figured out, because it was like we did a little cruise in, and, people would come, but it kind of got misconstrued. It was never supposed to be like a show. And you're always going to have those people, and it's fine. Like, you can enjoy the car hobby however you want to enjoy it, but like, I don't care to win a little plastic trophy that says I was there. Top 30 doesn't do anything for me. And it turned into something like, and we had to have a conversation with the guy that was letting us use his facility. And I'm like, dude, they're not paying me to be here. Like, you may think that, but they're not paying to be here. They're not getting any awards. There's nothing. Like, we're just like-minded people that want to hang out. But to get people to come out and want to share their story was like, I'm like, dude, I know there's cool cars. Like, I've seen them, or we'll be in a car, we'll be in the 54 driving, or I'll post something, or, I'll be wearing our merch or something and be like, oh, you're into cars? I'm like, yeah. Oh, I got this car tucked away and I haven't started it in 5 years. And I'm like, well, get back on it, man. Oh, no, it's a complete car. I just don't drive it. And I'm like, I just can't, I couldn't fathom that was a thing. But to get people to come out more than like a 20-mile radius of their house, it's nearly impossible. And, even our show, which I will invite you to at the end of this, we did pre-registration, and there was like not a whole lot of pre-registration. I was like, this is a bust, and kind of had to tell myself like, well, I'm going to have a good time. I done spent the money. If the money don't come back, I guess, we won't do it again.
Trust me, I know 100% about that. So,
and it turned out good. We had 80 cars for our first show at Don Garlett's. And nice. We're going to do it again this year, January 3rd. So if you ain't got nothing going on, January 3rd, Don Garlett's.
Wait, January 3rd?
Yep.
You mean 26?
Yeah. We did it this year, the 4th. So it's the first weekend of the new year.
Oh, no. How did I miss that? I think I might have known about it. There's a funny story about that back when they had billet proof at Don Garlett's.
Yep.
I showed up in my Lincoln, and they turned me
away. I was going to say, you got turned right around.
Well, they turned me away at Bulletproof
Yeah.
because I had a newer drivetrain. Well, Don knew who I was, and he saw me leaving. Well, he calls me, and I'm on the interstate. He said, "Hey, man, I don't know how he got my number." I said, why didn't you come to the show?" And I'm like, "They turned me away at the gate." And he's like, "Excuse me?" He said, "Your car looks like an old school custom." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I have a newer drivetrain in it." And he's like, "That shouldn't damn matter."
Yeah.
He's like, "Man, I'm gonna have a word with them, man. Turn right back around. I'll get you in." I said, "No, don't worry about it, Don. I don't have no hard feelings or nothing. I'm already getting close to Gainesville now, so I'm just gonna cruise on to the house."
Yeah.
I remember that.
So our show is an all years welcome. We don't do a traditional like top 30. We do a podcast choice. My wife picks a lady owned car. We do furthest distance traveled. So this year it was my buddy Randy Jackson and his girlfriend Misty came from Oklahoma, went to Missouri, picked him up and his rail dragster that he built, and they road tripped to our show. Lost a cross member, so the trailer tried to fall off the back of the car. Screwed wood to make it get to our show. Then we took it to my buddy's house with the 53 Brooklyn, or Brook Meadow Brooklyn. It's got a Cummins swap in it. We took it to his house, welded his hitch back up, and sent him back on their way. So obviously that one furthest distance traveled this year. But it's more, what we were trying to do is I'm trying to get back to the 60s and 70s of hot rodders hanging out in front of their garage. So you got a buddy that's putting a motor in and everyone just crashes their front yard. You got beer and pizza or hamburgers and hot dogs or whatever, and helping each other out. Stories, obviously we're not building nothing there, but it's just hanging out. You're catching up with people that you've never met before. I had never met Randy in person.
Right. Speaking on that, even though I own a shop, I have my friends, and one of my friends has a 65 Impala SS at my shop. This guy could barely know how to change his own oil. Well, he wanted an old car. He had such and such amount. I said, "I know where we're going." Loaded him up in the truck, got the trailer hooked up. I said, "We're going to my buddy's scrapyard." Out there, we had our pick of cars. My buddy has a scrapyard, but keeps old cars. He won't scrap them. You can buy them from him. Somebody can buy parts. Dude's cool as heck. Man, I don't know how many vehicles from him now. I'm probably like 30 vehicles in with him. So we find a 65, and I tell him, I said, "What's up with the story on a 65? And it's like, "Well, it was an abandoned at a body shop. I guess the owner passed away. They said it run." He said, "I don't see no reason why it wouldn't run." It was a two-door. And I'm like, "Okay." He bought it. And I told my buddy, I said, he didn't have enough money to pay me to work on it. I said, "This is what we're going to do. I'm not going to charge you a spot. I got plenty of room out here. We're going to set it up. I'm going to point at stuff and tell you what you need to do. And you're going to do it. And it means you're going to learn how to do it. When I put my hands on it, I'll have to charge you. But if I can sit there and point at you and tell you what to do, and you do it, and you learn how to do it, you're going to work on your car." Well, he has learned literally almost everything. And now he ended up buying another car and found out when I run the numbers on it, it was a true SS car. And I'm like, "Okay, we got a nicer body. We're going to build this SS body. We're going to put it on your other frame because we got it running, driving, steering, and stopping."
Hell yeah.
And we're to the point now, and I'm like, we're like 6 years in on this car because it's just him working on it now.
Yep.
On his free time, and he has like one day or like every couple weeks that he's able to work on it. And I went behind his back, and I got a whole bunch of our crew together, and I'm like, "This is what's happening. When he gets to this point, we're all going to spend a whole weekend on his car. And in one weekend, we're going to take two cars. We're going to put two cars together, and he's going to have a running, driving, steering, stopping, complete car that has all fresh floors in it. The engine's painted, new motor mounts, some new seals, and it's gonna, all the frame will be painted, the whole undercarriage will be painted, and the next thing that he has to do is start doing some body work. But he'll have a project that he can drive around.
Yeah.
All the glasses in it and all that. I mean, a running driving project is a lot easier to deal with than something you have in pieces, and he can concentrate on other stuff. And we're all going to get together and do that. I have another buddy, and it's like, we get done with this car, we're going to hit my buddy's house. He's got a 68 Chrysler Newport. We're going to go to his place. We'll bring all our tools. We're going to make that thing run, drive, move, steer, and stop one weekend. You know, sit around, shoot, you know, stories, this and that and all that, but sit there and get them things done. And, you know, I'm not going to charge for my time, because it is what I'm doing, it on my free time.
Well, and that's what this is all about is, you know, back, like I said, we were trying to duplicate the 60s or 70s. You know, you had a buddy that was a painter. You had a buddy that was a welder. You had a buddy that was this. You had a guy, you know, and y'all would all get together and make each other's cars cooler, and then y'all go cruise. You'd hang out. You'd go to car shows together, or you'd cruise up for dinner together. And that was, the community is kind of what has fallen off. But then every once in a while you get a spark, and it's like, okay, it's still here. We just got to kind of kindle that fire and get it more mainstream. You know, we went to the Saw Customs at the Raw Music Festival show and pulled in, and I'm like, dude, this is it. And people knew where we were from, and I had guys that never met me. Hey, man, here's my business card. My truck and trailer's hooked up at the shop. If you're closer to us than you are to your house, call us. We'll bring it back here. We'll fix the car. You can drive it home. If you're closer to your house, I'll come grab it and we'll take you home and you can fix it at your shop. You know, and that was, you know, they didn't know me other than I'm a crazy car guy that drove 3.5 hours to come to the show in a car that looks like it shouldn't make it. And at the end of the day, you make friends. And now if those same guys are down on my end, give me a call. If I got something you need, I'll help you out. It wasn't about, you know, it wasn't friends that you were friends with people or you were associated with people because of what they could do for you. It was, what could we do together to make my stuff awesome, make your stuff awesome. It's not one-sided. You know, and people are so quick to get in that, like, oh, well, I'm doing this for me and it's going to benefit me. Well, then when it's time for it to go the other way, they don't really want to participate. And it's like, well, that's not really how this goes, dude. Like, let's build something awesome, and not necessarily even the car build, like your car community, you know, getting people out. Because if there's 10 cars parked at a diner every Saturday morning, it's not going to be long before somebody pulls up and goes, well, I have a cool car. Could I come with you? And now it grows. And now it, you know, now you got another guy that maybe is a resource for parts or knowledge. You know, especially us, you know, we're on the younger side of the car hobby, especially old car stuff. You know, most people, when we get out of the car, they're thinking, you know, we're in the newer truck or we're whatever. But, you know, I'm just trying to soak up every bit of knowledge I can to try to keep this alive. I mean, that's our slogan, is we're a younger generation couple trying to keep hot rodding alive. And I don't care what avenue in the hot rod space you're in. We're all doing the same stuff. Mini truck guys call it body dropping. We call it channeling. They're swapping LSs in. We're swapping small blocks into Fords.
Right. Yeah, it's around here. It's really weird. Like, the classic car guys around here are, I hate to say it, they're a joke. I hate dealing with them. It's the quintessential just bad attitude classic car guys. They don't want to be part of anything except their little teeny tiny world that they're in, and that's it. And I'm like, you guys understand that. You guys act like everybody else is bad, but weren't you this age before? Didn't you do stuff when you were younger? live a little. I mean, you guys are just, they don't want to participate in nothing. They're just, I have very few of them. I'm like, when it comes out to classics, generally it's only me at some of my cruisings that I do. Sometimes we get a couple that are kind of cool, which is still, but I'm hoping to change that, because I have my current friends, like my buddy with the 65, my other buddy with the 68, and then my old helper at the shop just picked up a 73 Riviera, and that was his dream car. So something different,
Oh yeah.
he just loves the bow tails, and he wants to do this like old school lowrider, not like with knockoffs. He wants Astro Supremes on it, just like my car, or old Keystone Classics.
Yep.
And he wants Lakes pipes and bellflowers and louvers and stuff like that. Crazy paint job. And, we're trying to slowly build that up to where we have that stuff around here. And I work really hard at trying to do that, promoting our group, our events, and all that stuff. And you're talking about low turnout, man. When I spend my own money on giveaways, like if you're part of our cruise in, you're a participant, so you get a free raffle ticket. That raffle, and I have giveaways, and I ask for donations. I never get them, so I'm the one, I buy the stuff to give away most of the time. Yeah. So anything out there that I'm giving away, I paid for it with my money. We put on a huge cruise at the end of the year where you actually drive your vehicle through the whole county of Lowndes County, through the city. It's supported by the city, and it's for Toys for Tots, and it's awesome. The GSP's part of it, and I mean it's just awesome. That's the only time we actually get a huge number of. We get a lot of cars, so there's not too many times you can go anywhere where there's an event that lasts all day long, a car event, and at one point you're actually in a what do you call it? It's not a parade, motorcade.
Yeah.
Hundreds of cars.
Yeah, that's bad.
New, old. They actually come out for that.
That's good.
And still not the classic car group.
No,
it's other classics for other areas to come out.
And that's another thing that we figured out when doing our show. It wasn't the local guys that came out and supported the most. It was guys that I had never ran into that just heard there was something cool going on. And it's like, okay.
Drove over 100 miles to get there,
Yep. Well, while we're on the topic of your cruising, go ahead and tell us about the cruising and anything you want to tell us about your shop, and shout out the social medias and all that stuff.
Let's start with the group I run. It's called Local Scene Cruise Nights. It's limited. We're working on our nonprofit organization status. We have nonprofit status, but we're working on all the complete nonprofit status. That way we maybe get some grants and some other stuff and to help us. So what we do is I host a cruise in every second Saturday of the month in Valdosta, Georgia. And they call it the 5 Points area. And it's an old shopping center. It's actually owned by the city. We're backed by the city. The city actually wants us to have our cruise ins. Awesome. So we have a set permit for it. It's us. And during that time, it's a safe place. And what I try to do is also cater towards families. It's a big deal that we have families out there. Bring your kids out, because, like I said before, when I was talking about the kids at Slamfest riding in the car, they come out and you see kids kind of like milling about, and they're not paying attention to the cars really. But then we give free toys to the kids, like, hey, we tell a young man, like, hey, go over there to that event tent right there. There's a thing over there, pick you out of Hot Wheels or something. And their eyes just get big. And then you see them the rest of the night, and they're holding this Hot Wheels, and they're looking at all the cars. Now it clicks with them. This isn't that boring. There's something cool out here. Yep. We do contests. We do pie eating contests, watermelon eating contests. All of this stuff has kids included, and the adults. We have classes for both, and we have giveaways for each. We'll have cornhole out there for kids. We do Pinewood Derby. Have you ever seen that done
Yeah.
at a cruise in the car show?
No, I've seen the valve cover
Well,
racing. We do valve cover. A lot of the places down here do valve cover racing.
well, the Pinewood, it makes it easier for people because you can go on
Yeah.
eBay and buy
Buy a
Pinewood
kit, yeah.
kits or old cars.
Yep.
And so we loosely follow the rules because we don't want to make it so strict. It's kind of like, it's kind of boring, but the kids have fun. You know, I bought a track. We set up the track and we have classes. We do points races and all that. We just do a lot of stuff. I just want the car community to just come out and their families and the kids and everybody come out just to have a good time and hang out. You can see different people like, hey, I ain't seen you since last month. And they're sitting there just talking away about what happened and all that. And then we have the giveaways and all that. And, you know, I try to help out other people. Like if I get messages constantly, hey, you know, I want to put on a car show here and there. And, you know, how do you go about doing that? And I give them, you know, I have years of doing car shows and cruise ins. So I give them information. I'm like, I don't even make money from that. I just want them because I want them to do it because then that's another event in the car club community that you can go to. So I'm all about that. You know, I'm also, you know, I try to discourage any dumb stuff like takeovers and all that. And we're pretty strict about how people act. We don't want nothing stupid going on at our events or anything because we got kids and nice cars and everything else out there. And you get one person to screw up and you potentially got a serious problem on your hands. But like I said, we do that. So it's every second Saturday. We do help host some weekday events at our local Texas Roadhouse. Well, should have one coming up pretty soon. And then we have our big event at the end of the year, and it's still the second Saturday, and it's called the Toys for Tots Cruise for Kids. And that it's a like I said, it's a motorcade. Starts in the morning in Lake Park at the Lake Store Plaza, where it basically starts off as a cars and coffee. Everybody lines up, gets in respective lines. As they come in, we also collect the Toys for Tots. Is that the donation? And then usually at 12 o'clock sharp or right before it, we have a driver's meeting, and then the state patrol starts lining up, and then we all follow the state patrol through the whole, or through part of the lake park, through the whole county of Lowndes County, through the whole city of Valdosta, and then end where we have our cruise-ins at, where we continue having the event with, we got vendors and stuff for kids to do, and we have tons of special giveaways. I do custom painted pedal cars and bicycles, and all that stuff is some of the giveaways that we give. Stereo stuff, wash buckets, you name it, and it's given away. And at the same time, we're also selling tickets for other stuff, and this, all the we raise in the toys go to Toys for Tots. So it's a pretty big deal that we do that, and we're going to continue doing that because it's also run by it's also backed by the city of Valdosta as well. So we have, you know, it's going to continue growing, and it's always going to be there. So we do that along with the cruise, the monthly cruise in, and so that's basically it. We just want people to come out, and we're going to continue growing both the cruise in as much we can, and the cruise at the end of the year for Toys for Tots. And if you're ever out this area, you need to see if you can come up, because you could actually, it's cool to drive your vehicle in it.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. I got a couple things coming up in the next couple of months, but we may try to catch up on a second Saturday, and definitely we'll get the details as it gets closer, and we'll share that run for Toys for Tots, the cruise in for that. And if I can get away back to back like that, it'll depend on what we got going on with putting our stuff on. But if we can get up there, we'll definitely do it, because I if nothing else, I'll send you some stuff for a giveaway or something, some merch or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead and shout out all your social medias, how people can get a hold of you and everything like that.
Well, I'm a little old school. I'm still rocking regular old Facebook. You can find me on there. I'm Syko Simmons, SYKO. I don't do. I have Instagram. I don't have Instagram for my shop, which is Syko Fabrication, and Instagram for my cars, which I have my 62 Lincoln Continental is it's under Syko Lincoln is my Instagram, but my car is the Green Mile. So you can find me on there. I probably got a MySpace still floating around. There's no telling what's on there if you find it. I mean, but that's it. I never did any TikTok stuff. My YouTube channel, I just have a few videos on it. I'm not no influencer. I'm old school. I stick to what I know, and that's basically how I roll. But you can find me on that stuff. Even my Facebook page is public. I mean, I post what I think sometimes. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. But there's some car stuff on there, and I barely update my shop page. So I've done, I don't know, thousands of cars that I have pictures for that I've never uploaded anywhere, but just in my memory on my phones and computer.
It's hard because, we do the YouTube channel too, and that's more like we try to focus it more on like what's going on with the Model A or like a show coverage or something like that. And it's hard because I'll go out to do something and either set a camera up and it's now filming my back because I forgot about it and I started working, or it's staring at the ceiling because it fell over and I'm in a car and I can't get out. So now you're just going to stare at a ceiling and, hear me saying 4-letter dirty words to it, or, it's hard to remember to take pictures or post stuff like that. It's more just, it's easier just to hang out and work on stuff.
Right. Yeah. And it's cool if you have them good memories.
Oh yeah.
That stuff stays with you too. Sometimes it's cool to have a picture from that, but I don't, sometimes I have tons of pictures from like being at the beach or when I was at Turkey Rod Run. I don't even think I even posted much pictures from the actual show itself. I posted more pictures of the shenanigans I was getting myself into, like at the Iron Horse, or when I got stuck on a beach in my car.
Yeah, I just seen that picture.
That was something else right there. Over me I just wanted a nice picture on the beach with my car. It turned into a whole ordeal that was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I have a 10-day road trip coming up, and one of the last days on the road trip is we're going to try to get on the beach with 5 vintage cars and 5 vintage campers going from Plains, Montana down to Sandpoint, Idaho, camping through the redwoods, across the Golden Gate to see Alcatraz, to the West Coast Customs Show, and then trying to go.
I'm jealous, man. That sounds awesome.
Pismo Beach. And then, so I'm flying into Missoula, and then I'm flying out of Bakersfield. They're going to drop me back off at Bakersfield, California to fly home. I couldn't turn it down.
I would just hop in my car, my Lincoln, and strike out. I'm going to drive all the way across the country and do that. Yeah. So, I wouldn't even have any fear of my car making it there or not. I'd love to do something like that.
May 15th.
You're pretty lucky doing that stuff.
Well, and it was kind of funny how it happened was we have, I don't know if you're familiar with Bad Idea Customs, but Ken Sainer.
I'm not.
He's a podcast that helped us get started. He's really good friends with them in Texas, and it's close to 500 cars he's owned. It's close to 100 cars that he currently owns.
Man.
and he just, so I had reached out to him because Ford had released a teaser pic, and someone sent it to us and was like, garbage throwing up emoji of the new Model T. So I had reached out to him because he's tied in with Ford. He pretty knowledgeable on the Ford side of things. So I was like, hey, did you hear anything about this? And he's like, it looks more like a British taxi cab than a Model T. And I was like, that's the picture I got. And he's like, yeah, it's supposed to be electric and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, what are you doing on the 15th? And I was like, working, man. And he's like, well, if I can get you out here, would you want to go on a road trip? I was like, where are we going? He's told me, and I was like, let me get with my wife and make sure that we can, financially figure that out, because I don't have time at work, so I'm just going to take off and go. And luckily I have a very supportive wife, and she's like, yeah, duh, it's 10 days of content on a road trip that you may never get to take again. So we are supposed to be cruising in a 55 Custom. I think his Woody's going. I think his Econoline is going. And then there's 2 other cars. So 5 vintage campers, 5 vintage cars. And ended up the podcast that helped us get started, the Hometown Hot Rodder, he's actually going to be able to make it. So it'll be all 3 of us will be able to record episodes in the car, get some content, get to, actually see the redwoods. I mean, I've drove through California, but it was on an interstate because it was in a semi-truck. So, and then also the West Coast Custom Show, which obviously would have been way cooler to go to last year when Gene Winfield was still alive, but a lot of his cars were there, and I guess one whole night is just like 4 lanes of cool-ass customs with a K, just cruising up and down the street. And so it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, man, I'd love to go out there. I've always said that. And I wanted to go out west. I was, so my club, the Suicide Slabs, they keep wanting me. There's always hints of me. They wanted me to go to Temecula Rod Run.
Yeah.
And actually come with my car because I know I'd drive it. And I always had this idea that, there'd be the spot open at the Temecula Rod Run. They're all like, why is there a spot? Who's coming in? And I come pulling in. They're like, what? Syko drove all the way from Georgia to the Temecula Rod Run in his Lincoln. Yeah. And I was like, man, it'd be awesome to do that.
It definitely be cool.
That hurricane that came through hurt me last year, so I'm still feeling the effects. So maybe next year I might be able to move a little bit.
Yeah, it was. I know normally, I mean, I've been close to the same place we live right now for my whole life. And it was always like, oh, hurricanes don't affect us. We're far enough inland that it doesn't really affect us. Last year's hurricane, our road was flooded luckily I have a lifted truck that I use as a tow pig, but that was the only vehicle that could get out of our yard. The yard didn't flood, but the road itself flooded.
Well, so I lived in Tampa for years. And so I knew hurricanes, no big deal. I'd go to work the next day, big deal. So I'm 200 miles inland right here. And so this hurricane's coming, it's beelining towards us. And I'm like, yeah, we'll get some wind, we'll get some water and all that stuff. Man, it wrecked my shop. It ripped the roof off my shop. It took trees down. We were out of power for like 2 weeks. My fiance couldn't work. I couldn't work. I had no power, so I can't. And it's, it messed up everything. Messing up my shop really hurt. Yeah. And it set me back. But so hopefully I'm going to have pretty much everything done by the end of summer. And then I'm concentrating on building my new shop and then just getting back going in the groove again. And hopefully pretty soon I'll be I'll just go off and do whatever I want to do. I'm building a big hauler. I've been doing it for years. I've already got the vehicle. I just got to build my frame for it, and that's going to start this summer. I got a American LaFrance Centurion fire truck.
Okay.
And this is a special model. Only 4 of these were built, and it's bigger than a regular fire truck cab. But if you know American LaFrance, even in the 80s, all the way up into the 2000s, they used the same cab style from the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
It's all rounded.
Yep.
So it looks like something that's old, but it's an 84 model. And I'm building a big ramp truck and got air ride front suspension for it. I got to pick up my frame rails. And basically it's going to be like a mini camper plus a 28-foot long bed on it to the Dove. And then still be able to tow a trailer.
Very cool.
And I'm going to hopefully start taking it to shows and have my car on there and then towing whatever else behind it, another car, truck, whatever. And what I really want to do is I have people like all over the States that want me to paint their vehicles. I'm really considering just doing mobile custom paint. You got a garage? Great. We're going to use your garage. You ain't got a garage? Also great. We're going to use this blow-up tent that I'm going to bring in this other shelter, you know?
Yep, very
And
cool.
I'm going to paint your vehicle at your spot, you know? And
well, I think that would be great because a lot of people don't, you know, you hear horror stories of paint shop jail or I dropped my car off and the guy hasn't got to it yet. And, you know, you put blood, sweat, and tears into a car, you don't really want to see it go nowhere.
I hear that too because I'm a shop and people are, hey, what's going on with my car? And I'm like, remember, you dropped your car off and said, don't worry about how long it takes because I know you're busy. You get to my car when you're done with the other stuff. Well, guess what? I'm still not done with the other stuff, so your car's still sitting.
Yep.
I told you not to drop your car off until it was ready for, you know.
Yeah.
But you wanted to do it anyway, so don't give me no problems with it in the meantime. But I've been thinking about that, and I'm like, man, I just, you know, I got a guy in Minnesota that was been wanting me to paint his car, and I'm like, you get it ready for me to paint. I'm gonna come up there, and I'm gonna paint right then and there on that spot. I've done that. I've been to Tampa a number of times. I was just in Kissimmee, and I'll be in Kissimmee not this week, maybe the week after. I got to finish up a 6-door dually that I painted down there.
Well, you're in Valdosta, right? So you just run straight up 75?
Yeah, 75. Just come down, switch over to the toll road, and go down that way.
Well, definitely when you're around that transition, holler at us. We'll grab lunch or something because we're just
stop at the Crumbs.
Yeah, we're
stop
just
at the Crumbs as soon as I'm there.
So we're 2 exits after Wildwood.
Okay.
So we're like 30 minutes from the Chrome Shop.
Nice. So, yeah, I'll do that for sure.
Before we get out of here, let's hit them with one piece of advice for getting into the car world.
One piece of advice for getting in the car. Do what your heart tells you to do. Build what you want to build. Don't listen to anybody. If you have an idea, go for it. There's, you know, so many people that tell you how to build a car and do it this way, and they don't like it like that. Or you got people that hate on that style. Whatever makes you happy, you do that. And that will always make you happy when it comes to being part of the car culture and building cars and doing stuff.
It's your car. You're the one that's got to drive it.
Yep. Yeah, I built my car like that. People are like, why'd you do a Lincoln like that? Because I love customs and I like Lincolns. And there's no Lincoln customs, but they have they just have the look. I mean, I got a Phantom grill on my Lincoln. Have you ever seen a Lincoln with a Phantom grill? Nope. I got one. Lakes, pipes, and bellflowers. I got louvers, candies, metal flake, pearls, scallops, flames. I mean, crisscross graphics, tuck and roll. I mean,
yeah, it definitely made sense after I figured out that was your car behind us. Your car definitely looks like a custom painter's car because it's your calling card. So there. Can you do this? Yep, it's right there. Can you do this? Yep, it's right there.
Yep, still right there. Keep looking. Just see what. Find something I can't do, and then ask me. Because
there was a painter local to us, and he had a 88 88 to 98 body style, C10, K10, whatever, C1500, and it was a long wheelbase, and he did custom paint on it, but it had like not spider webs, but where it looks like a line, like silly string, the way a silly string would lay out. He had those type, and like lace and this and that, and it was basically, somebody had asked him like, oh man, that truck's really busy, and he was like, yep. He goes, but that's what I can do. So if you're questioning if I can do a paint job, there it is. That way it takes away the questions of, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Let's just look at the truck.
No, it's the same thing I mentioned before. My dad told me nobody's born with the ability to do anything. You learn it. I always wanted an oval steering wheel. I'm not paying $3,000 for a broken Dodge steering wheel from the 50s.
Yeah.
I made my own oval plexiglass and candy metal flake steering wheel for my car.
That's badass.
I love it.
Oh, definitely. After you said that, I was remembering back to the car, and I was like, and while we were taking our little break, I told Ashley, I said, we met him at Turkey, and she's like, yeah, that's what I heard you say. And I was like, I don't even remember talking to him. All I remember is saying, hey, nice car.
Yeah, I do remember that now. And I told Janie, it's like, hey, he was parked right in front of us at the Iron Horse. And she's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man, I thank you again for coming on. And we'll make sure that we tag all your links or your Facebook down below in the show notes.
I appreciate being part of it, man.
All right, before we get out of here, make sure you go show Why Not Fab some love on Facebook.
And check out Throttle Addict using the code word HOTROD for 15% off.
Make sure you go show Johnny Jalopy some love. Facebook, YouTube, JohnnyJalopy.com.
And go visit Low Income Clothing, Photos, Brahmaga Media, all found on Facebook and Instagram.
And if you haven't went and checked out Wrenching for the Future, they got a little deal they posted today. Looking to give away something free to a kid. So go check it out. Wrenching for the Future, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
And be sure to go visit Ty Blends from Top Notch Barber Studio. You can find him on Instagram or Ty Blends1 on Booksy.com to book an appointment.
All right, guys. Well, get out, work on your shit so you can go drive it. Later.
See ya.